Wow.
I really got Ziploc bags for kids. I was like, no, she's brown, and then I ran into pink and pink.
Funny.
Love it.
That was the first time I've laughed in 3 days.
Yeah, that's fair. That's what I came here for.
Some people are asking, yeah.
And we just published the question and answer everything. We just got to capture the question. Everybody's published it. We don't need that. Just capture the question. I'm gonna try to write it down. And then I guess wherever you publish the just publish up Facebook, the question and answer.
Ready?
Ready?
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and to have this discussion with us. So what we've kind of prepared today is just a quick PowerPoint presentation to go through, and then we'll take everybody's questions and try to get answers for everything tonight. Scott Lordson, he's co-chair of the Finance Committee. Corey Venable is co-chair of the Finance Committee. Jay, you want to raise your hand? Jay King, council member. Susan Pitts, council member, and Julie Contanescu, council member. So we have everybody here tonight to try to answer all your questions that you may have. So with that, we'll go ahead and start. Lynn, if you want to switch to the first PowerPoint. So this first PowerPoint up here on the screen shows our fund summary for our electric fund. It shows from 2022 to now to our proposed budget, both revenue and expenses. So the bottom lines on each one are the bold numbers, and that shows the revenue and expenses. I'll point out in 2023, the revenue shows high because the council voted on a bond. So those funds show in our budget, and then they're spent for that bond period. I believe that one was for the substation construction. So that's what those two numbers you can see throughout from 2022. Our revenues did go up, but our expenses outpaced dramatically our revenues for those 4 years, and that was due to numerous things. If you want to switch to the next slide.
Keep it there.
Oh,
Real quick. I just want to add something. So as Casey said, my name's Scott Lordson. I'm in my second term as city council. Okay. So I'll try to describe. I mean, the numbers aren't important. What I want to do tonight to support what's going on here is to share with you how we develop the rates. How do we pick what the rates are for all our utilities? So I think what we're showing here is, so I want to share some information about how we do it. Obviously, answer any questions that you have that we can, and then just listen to what you guys have, what you want to share. We'll get it to you. Yeah, we'll get it to you. And by the way, this is right off our website. So if you have access, it's on the website. Just search for budget and go to 2025 budget, and you'll scroll down and see all our funds. So this is the published budget that we have. We just captured this electric fund. Question. Yeah, when I'm talking about process, they don't. I was referring to process, okay? Um, so the process is that the budget sets where the rates need to be. So by law, we can't operate a municipality at a deficit. You just can't do it. You've got to, at minimum, break even. So we try to run all our utilities at a break even point. So we go through the budget process. That's a long process, starts in April, May. We start having workshops in May and June. We come up in July and we discuss these in workshops. We discuss these in council open sessions. We discuss it with the department heads. They come forward with their needs. They're monitoring prices of what things cost, what they need to have. They come forward with a whole bunch of projects. We get together and we decide, what we could possibly do in the next year. So we set the budget in basically July, August for the following year. So we've already, in the process of setting 2026, we're looking at it. So my point is that we don't arbitrarily just come up with a number. The number is set on what the budget requires. We have to get enough revenue through the rates to at least get to the budget, and we shoot for break even. Okay, so that's the process I'm talking about. We just need to understand we don't make these numbers up. We go through this and we set the rates based on projected usage. So these are assumptions we have to go through to try to break even. Okay, and we'll talk about reserve later and what that does for us. So that's what I meant by they don't matter. They matter for the rates, but the process is the process. So hopefully that clears that up.
Personnel services, what does that mean? What are your expenses?
People.
Yeah, that's our employees. Yeah. Yep.
So the electric fund budgets
The electric fund pays for all the electric personnel that operate within that realm of the city.
So each utility tries to run it with their own expenses, paying for their own people at a break even level.
Okay. Ready, Lynn?
That's mostly purchase power. Okay, so we buy our power from Evergy's a transmission mechanism. We have contracts that we call purchase power agreements that we signed up for that tells us what the rates are. And so those are what we have to pay for those contracts, whether we use it or not. We got to pay that power contract. So that number, there's a little more into it, but mostly that's the actual power. We're mostly, yeah. There's more detail, yeah.
Okay, so you have the purchase power. We're also required to pay for the transmission of that power from that source. That's essentially what all goes into that number.
There's a whole list of stuff.
Is everything that
Yeah, we could probably get that for you.
yeah, we could probably get it broken down by our staff. Yeah. Okay, so
Jay's going to print it.
okay, so as we look at these expenses, the next slide and what you guys have handed out to you, we knew wouldn't show up very good on this screen. Shows what the percent of expenses have went up to. So as you're looking at this is overhead power lines, which we have overhead and we have underground power lines within our community that we have to maintain. The primary wire, 64%, insulators, 49%, surge arresters, 67%. All those things have gone up dramatically. And this came from the Kansas Municipal, KMEA, which is Kansas Municipal Utilities organization that that we're a part of for all Kansas utilities in the state. So the lowest amount that has went up with everything attached to overhead line was the wages at 13%. Everything else has went up dramatically over the last 4 years. And so I want to back up just a little bit. So Baldwin had a very high reserve amount in their electric fund, very high. So over the last 4 years, while we were seeing these increases and those were hitting us in real time, we were taking and depleting those reserves. They are higher than what our policy has stated. So the theory was we did not want to take any more money from the residents than we had to. And the hope was that the inflation that was causing these price increases was going to come back down. So that way we're hoping to supplement the reserves to allow the inflationary numbers to come back down. That obviously did not happen. These numbers stayed up. And this is a direct reflection of that from KMEA. Next slide. The next slide will show what the underground. So you have the main box, which is the transformer. Those have went up over the last 4 years, 608% on our thing. We did back during right after COVID, in when a lot of things were going on in the national market. We tried doing some strategic purchases because you couldn't find transformers. I think Evergy was even having problems finding transformers. So we found a lot of a lot, I call not like multiples, but we found some transformers that we went ahead and purchased because that's one thing that we have to replace on a daily, or not a daily basis, but on a regular basis is our transformers. So we did buy some of those to try to stave off some of the inflationary numbers that we were seeing coming from the equipment to purchase. So next slide. So here, this is what was presented to the council when we were going through all these budgetary numbers. This is the breakdown of the expense in the net kilowatt per hour that we charge our citizens, and what portion of that goes to the wholesale power purchase. That dark blue area is the power that we purchase. Then you have administration costs, you have the cost of production, you have the cost of our distribution, you have our debt, and then that's the number at the very top that we have to try to meet each year in and around that $6 million, depending on if our projections are correct throughout the year based on our financial advisors. And then on the right-hand side, we took and broke down the rate to see what portion of the rate needed to go to each thing, each item over on the expense side, so that people could see how much of their rate contributes to each one of those portions on the expenses. Scott, you kind of helped put this together. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, this is, really just trying to figure out, again, taking your budget, breaking it up into the pieces that we're showing, and then figuring out how much revenue that is, or you need for each one of those pieces. And then it just equates to, if our forecast for 2025 was 38 million kilowatt hours based on the past years and some growth. So those are some assumptions you have to make. So based on that many kilowatt hours, what does our rate need to be to get to that $6 million number? Again, we really can't, if you fall short, it's trouble. So that's how the rate is set. It's off the budget. So as the council is very interested in trying to figure out, as we go through the budget process, how can we lower the budget in all of the utilities, in everything, every service that we provide, because that sets what we have to charge our citizens.
Okay, next slide. So this shows over the last essentially 10 years. And I know this is hard to read. We will make sure and get this posted online. If you want an emailed copy, is he printing out all of this? Okay, so we're trying to get them printed off right now for you guys, so it's easier to see. But essentially what we have here is a bar graph that shows our debt. The generation is the orange, and the dark blue is the wholesale power purchase amount of money that we had to expend for that specific year from 2014 to 2025. And then the lines going across, the lower line that is straight across essentially from 2014 to 2025 is the rate. The rate hadn't changed from 2014 to 2025. And it's a great question, and we will get to that. I'm sure everybody wants to hear that. Promise we will.
Yeah.
We will address that. So you'll see also the total revenue. Total revenue kind of jumps around a little bit. That's the green line right above the pinkish purple line, if you can see that relatively. And then total revenue and the reserves are the top line. And you'll see last year is when we really kind of started getting out of whack on all that.
So I think to answer your question, that very top line, so let me have that. So the very top line is really our total revenue plus a reserve. So that's really how much that we took in plus a reserve. Now our policy says we need to carry 15 to 25% of our expenses as a reserve. Well, you might wonder what's a reserve good for? I mean, why do you do that? So if we think about the fact that we have to at least break even, we just talked about making assumptions on how many kilowatt hours are going to be used, which you don't know. You got to estimate that. Well, if you fall short and your revenue falls short, where does that extra money come from? There's no other place to get it for that utility. So if you carry a reserve, one of the things that it does, it allows you to take that reserve and not go negative, not run a deficit, right? So you would eat into that reserve. If you made more than, hold on a second, if you made more than you forecast, then obviously your reserve is going to grow. And if you're trying to keep your reserve at a 15 to 25% level, you could lower the rate next year because that reserve is higher than it needs to be. You can use some of that reserve in your revenue. So hopefully that helps explain that. And what you'll see here is that top line for the last decade, our revenue was below that reserve line. So we had plenty of reserve. We had more reserve than our policy stated. When I showed up 6 years ago, I think we were twice of what our reserve policy said we need to carry. And we kind of had a conversation around, we can hold on to that and use it down the road, or we can give it back and let the citizens keep it in their bank account. So we decided that we're just going to hold it flat and we're going to eat into it. As our costs went up, we started eating more of that reserve, right? So we were no longer twice. And as we went through those 10 years, that reserve was coming down, coming down, coming down. At some point, as your costs go up and you're not in reserve, they're going to cross. Your reserve is going to hit. And as you can see, in 2024, that bar chart went above our reserve line. So the prices jumped so quickly, our reserve went negative. And so we've been trying to get the reserve back to policy really since about 2023, 2024. So that's why we have to raise rates. We no longer have a reserve that we can use to supplement the rates. We have to get it from the rates. Because we didn't charge you. We could have charged more we didn't raise the rates in the past decade. If we had raised the rates in the past decade, we'd have been building that reserve back. Yeah. So that's a fair criticism that we could have started raising rates years and years ago. So
all of that information. It is not accessible online. I looked, and and I went to City Hall, and I started to fill out a request for all this information, because I think it's extremely pertinent to what we're seeing now, the mismanagement of our finances. So I went and I looked for that information. And in order to get that, we've got to have someone dig through 3 different systems, private systems. That's a little bit my best. So, only way I have to get this information is go online and Microsoft, take a picture, which I have done to some extent, got other things. your local business owner. And then you have to stop raising utility rates and spending. Our young families and businesses not continue to afford increased electric rates. And you have increased quality of life, connect our neighborhoods with our schools, sidewalks, all the way. That's the whole post, your work. And to do that, I think you have failed me. I will also say that on 26, 2021, Casey mentioned 4 million in reserves being, quote, just being in a checking account and collecting minimal interest. Those funds were bid out, reinvested, they expired. Now, to me, that takes it, you had $4 million at that point. You knew there was an issue at that point. Here we are, just now getting gas to pipe. And these are not things that people have been able to plan for, even for lack of transparency, lack of community. And I keep going, but I'm not.
Okay. So I'll address some of that. Yes, I did run on that originally, and I still stand behind that today. We want to keep the utility rates as low as we can. I would not have ever anticipated COVID hitting in 2020, which then led to massive inflationary numbers. These numbers that we saw up here to the cost of our utility system did not exist at that point. There's no way for me to foresee anything like that coming up. So absolutely, still to this day, I stand behind that. I want to keep our utilities as low as I possibly can for as long as we. I okay.
So because people
Yeah.
can't hear online, why don't we finish up here and then we'll open up to comments and questions so we can pass the microphone around. Okay, so
Yeah.
hold the question. Well, if you don't mind holding it, so
We want to make sure the people online can also hear the questions, so that way they can hear the answers as well. Is this the last slide? Okay, one more. This is it. Okay, so I want to continue to address. Well, here. Do you want to?
Hi, my name is Robert Stewart, and I wanted to ask you two questions. Number one, you mentioned about the reserve. You had a lot of it. What the hell did you guys do with it? Honestly. Second part.
so you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
So we were spending it by supplementing the rates that we did not raise.
I'll look
So
at the spending part.
to meet the expenses. So that's the answer to your question.
All right, that's the second one. How many millions did you spill on the solar farm just to produce 10% energy? Where's that at now? And
So we spent nothing on the solar farm to answer that question. Actually, Evergy spent the money on that solar farm, and we contracted with Evergy to purchase that power off of it behind our grid for 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour.
yeah,
There's no expenditures
great
that were
point.
done by the city.
And I do have one other question.
Okay.
This one I'm gonna be direct, and you can have men in the blue take me away. Everybody says you guys put this information out months ago. I say bollocks. You were responsible to tell everybody in this city about this coming up, the possibility of it, what you're doing to prevent it, and to give us a heads up. You were required to do that. You should have sent a letter. It could have been encompassed with our bill. Hey, folks, heads up. And then transparency, where did it go? Out the freaking window. You're about as transparent as a rock. Gentlemen, I'm telling you, you're pissing people off really bad. You're putting people, good people, in very bad predicaments because of your bad decisions. You had a closed door session. 5 people, and 1, bless your heart, said no. The other 4 made a decision that affected everybody in the city. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
So all
Transparency and knowledge. That's you. That's you accountable. And everybody in this room should hold you accountable. Here, take your mic. I don't need it. Okay. There you are, sir.
Talking about the solar field
Mhm.
belonging to Evergy, isn't there a contract with the city and Evergy that we can buy that?
Yeah, we could buy it out for 7 years at,
Isn't that time up?
I mean, yeah, if we want to expend that money, but obviously that would cause a rate increase again to finance that purchase. 'Cause that's $750,000 roughly to purchase that
If we
contract out.
don't buy it, does does the electricity that come through there go higher?
Nope, it stays the same from what I
That
can
contract
recall.
Continues on the same?
Yep. Okay, hang on.
Where's it going?
Right here, right there. Thank you.
Where did the electricity, the solar go when we was out of electricity for 3 hours in 90-degree weather or higher?
So my understanding, and I don't work in the electrical department every day, but was told kind of what happened during that day is when Evergy's power poles got hit on the Gardner feed, we don't run our generators all the time. The generators don't run until we have an outage. And then our staff come in, kick on the generators to power back up our homes. So on that day in particular, my understanding was that pole went down, staff came in, tried getting the generators fired back up so that we could get power on, and there was too much of a load on the system that wasn't allowing the generators to kick on. That is my full understanding of that. I believe I was told that the nursing home over by the golf course stayed on, or they were able to get them back on, so that way those residents had power. But that's what I know about that event, that specific event. I can tell you that our generators, when Winter Storm Uri hit in February of 23, I think 2021, somewhere around there, we ran for 2 weeks straight during that period of time. And that saved us nearly $1 million in revenue that other people had to spend to pay for those high gas prices over that 2 week period.
Okay, I got a question for you, and
Yeah.
it stems from if you could put the slide back. I don't know if that's possible, but you showed that a good portion. There you go, of the cost that we have is in debt administration. I'm assuming with that, I can't read it all.
Generation, distribution, and administration.
Right. An administration cost.
Yeah.
So I'm going to debate your statement there that said the only way to meet our way, our break even is to raise rates. There's not. You can cut expenses. Has that been has that been evaluated? Because there's a good portion of that I mean, I don't know what the breakdown is of administration, general, whatever, but I mean, sometimes we have to do more with less, gentlemen.
Yeah. So we go through that process every year. That's the budgeting process. I described it earlier that every department head comes forward with what they think they need to go forward. And it's an open session. It's an open council meeting discussion. It's open session, workshop that it's all discussed. And, tough decisions are made. I can tell you that there's no department head here that gets nearly everything they think they actually need, because we're trying to cut. I mean, the biggest thing, as you know, in any enterprise is usually staff. And we haven't added staff to electric in forever. So we are doing more with less. The question is, can we do more with even less? And part of what we have to worry about is, any outage, any hiccup, you guys are affected and nobody likes it. So we got to weigh having a quality service with that whole expense cost line. It's not easy decision to make. It just isn't. And inputs from anybody that has ideas on how to do it, you're welcome to be part of the process. All ears.
Here, let's pass the microphone. Sorry.
Is there a limit to how much you can raise our bills?
No, we're not governed by the KCC or any type of authority like Evergy. So this last increase was a 10% increase. but we're not governed by a board or anything like that. One thing that I have kind of, and I'll go over at the end when we're done, but yeah, go ahead.
Now you wanted ideas. Well, why don't we look at other towns in our area? Eudora, I just looked at their bill and it has no franchise fees on it, no rental for your meter, which mine's 25 years old, and their bill is about a third of mine. And they got better schools than we do. So they have a better council than we do or a better mayor? Question.
Yeah.
What's
So,
going on? I mean,
so Eudora, they're different than us, right? I mean, they have, we have,
Live there.
we have our own generation, right? Eudora doesn't have their own generation. We own our own substations. Eudora doesn't own their own substations. They do buy direct from Evergy. They are also operating off of a 20-year-old contract that is expiring in the next 1 to 2 years. And I would bet that their rates are going to surpass ours at that point because
that's all speculation.
it's all speculation. Yeah, absolutely.
In the first place.
I'm sorry.
Stated earlier that we're working on hope. That's exactly one of your guys's, I think it was your words. And your idea, what you just said there, is going back to working on hope. We hope it's going to be larger than than ours are. And that's just
No,
very
if I said that, I didn't mean I hope. I said I would assume that theirs is going to be. I meant I assume. Sorry, I used the wrong term. I assume that theirs is going to be larger after going through a 20-year contract. I mean, we saw our 20-year contract with our water go away. Then our raw water went sky high after that 20-year contract.
what put us in this place, put us here in the first place. You said you hope that that revenue would hold, I'm sorry, the surplus would hold throughout all of it. Instead of making good decisions at that point. If I'm in finance, I do budget. If I went to my director and I said, well, I hope this is going to get us through, I'd be fired the next day. He would not let me say, I hope this will get us through.
So I guess, and I hear what you're saying, but if we have an abundance of surplus of funds and we are continually raising the utility rate for that budget item, for the utility budget, then we're taking more and continually holding it in the coffers of the city versus trying to work through that to allow you citizens to keep all the excess money until we actually need it. We don't want to take any more money than we need. We do need it.
So I'm not really good at speaking. This is one of my first times. So where I come from is like kind of a bottom dollar thing. So this is more like a statement. I come from Drumrine, Oklahoma. It's a small town. Barely anybody knows it. When I lived there, family of four, $200 for water, sewage, garbage, all that for a family of four. All right. When I moved here for a family of four, roughly same thing. And not only has my utilities gone up from like 200 to like $513, but also my property taxes have gone up. And that's probably a different subject there, but just to brush up on it, my property taxes have soared by like $300. All right. And businesses have left. Other, places have bought up those businesses. We lost our hotel. We lost our Taco Bell, stuff like that. So, prices are going up, but there's not really much change. Like you drive around and there's not really much change. So I'm not here to blame. I'm just saying what I see. That bottom dollar about everybody here, they're on that spreadsheet. What you're looking at, these are the people part of that spreadsheet. All right. So when we look at that, we're seeing ourselves, we're trying to figure it out. And to us, it just doesn't add up.
I think there's a young lady in the back.
Hi, I understand cost of living all over, not just Baldwin, everywhere is going up. We know wages are not keeping up with the cost of living for most people. The way I see it is we can't go back and change how the budget was spent before, that the rates didn't gradually go up, that there wasn't more in reserve. We can't change any of that. I'm more concerned about in what is the future going to look like. Are we planning on realistically, is there a possibility that rates are going to continue to gradually increase? And if so, is there any idea of how that might look for individual households?
So there's always going to be a possibility of that. I mean, it all comes down to what the expenses do on our utility budget.
Watch
Our water specifically comes from Lawrence, so they increase our rates every single year. That's our only water source. We have one line coming into our community, and we're tied to that one line. Electric, those we made some changes this year. We were buying 3 megawatts from GRDA down at the Grand River Dam Authority, having it shipped up here. That got cut in half because what we found out when we looked at that 20-year contract is overall the average on market uh, daily price for energy was cheaper than buying from them. So we lowered the amount that we were buying from them to try to save some costs on that side. We did look at a solar farm to try to do another one of those. The reality of with the cost of the land acquisition and the cost of the infrastructure, along with the tax incentives going away at the end of this year, it's not economically feasible for us to do that. So we did buy some power from what's called the Pratt Solar Project out in Pratt, Kansas, that they're building right now to try to get some of that fixed rate energy coming in. Our lowest energy we purchase right now is our wind energy. We have some portfolio of energy from that comes from, I think, Western Kansas or Colorado, somewhere in there, and gets transmitted from us. So yes, we continue to look at different ways where we can cut expenses on that without losing our service productivity from our staff by lowering staff. I mean, yes, we could always cut staff. We can always do that. Then it's going to be a service issue to how quickly can we get lines fixed and back up and people back up and running. Most of the time our response rate is pretty good. We're back on within an hour. This last outage, with the problems with the generators, getting them fired up with the load, it took longer. It took 2 hours. So, and I apologize for that, but 3 hours. So.
So I want to add comments. I appreciate those comments. Budget and Finance Committee meets twice a month. And I would say the predominant discussion is how do we try to keep Baldwin as affordable as possible. And so we know there's a range of socioeconomic people that live here. We kind of have a flat rate. So we're always looking for ideas of how do we enable that diverse set of citizens to be able to afford to live here. And we try some things. We're trying things. Some of the power purchase, open to ideas. We look around at other cities and see what they're doing. We had a plan for this 3 million megawatt solar project that we were going to do. We were planning to do that had a nice credit payback for low income families that we were really excited about. But when that dried up, that program dried up as well. So anybody that sees anything another city's doing that you think we should be, you just need to bring it forward. It'll be your idea, and if we can make it work, we'll make it work, because that's what we're all about. We're all in this together. We work for you. If we can make it work, we will, but we got to have the ideas, and it has to work, has to be feasible.
Yeah, where's the? Hey, hang on just a second. The mic's back here, and then I'll bring it back up to you. Oh.
The disaster fund, is not the disaster fund part of our electrical savings? If we have a tornado or an ice storm that tears down our lines or blows our lines down or tears our stuff up, don't we have to have a fund, and it comes out of the electrical fund because that's the only place that the city makes any money? is through the electricity fund. So don't that need to be built up to 5 or 6 million if it's possible?
Well, so Jerry, you're talking about our reserves. That's what our reserve fund is intended for.
Yes, that's what I'm talking
Um, in to have a $5 or $6 million reserve, if worst case scenario, a tornado comes and wipes out Baldwin City.
scenario was COVID. Casey, you just said that.
Not to our electrical system. Not to our electrical system.
You talked about the reason.
That's inflationary period. Inflationary period started at COVID, and that caused our supplies to be much more expensive than what they are.
So
They were.
what is your estimation for building up the reserves?
So that was the policy we talked about. Our policy is 15 to 25% of our expenses. And right now we are below that. With the rates that we put out there, we might be at the 15%. And what I talked about one scenario that the reserves for is if you miss your forecast and your revenue is lower than your budget, you got to get from somewhere. That's usually a small miss. But if your transmission lines get blown over, you're not selling electricity, so you're not generating any revenue. So that's zero revenue coming in. We still have to pay our purchase contracts. They don't care whether we're selling it or not. We owe them for that, or we got to sell on the open market. So the other thing that reserve is for is to maintain your personnel and your purchasing ability to get through for 2 to 3 months and get the infrastructure fixed to where we can start sending electricity to the citizens and generating revenue. So it's both to try to, smooth out when you miss your forecast, but it's also for maintaining the utility when you're not bringing any revenue in or a reduced amount of revenue. So we've got a 3-year plan to try to get back to the 25%, which is 4 months or 3 months of operating expense. But right now we're shooting for below that just to keep the rates down. So there's a risk to that, right? And we get guidance from our financial team and some of our citizens said that's a risk. If we have that happen, then we're gonna have to scramble to figure out how we get revenue to pay for the people we need to stay around and fix our plant. So those are some of the things we do to try to keep the rates as low as possible and gradually step it up when we can to build the reserve back. Does that answer your question?
One question that I keep getting from individuals. A lot of people know I've been there and dropped out.
Is your mic on?
Asking about, well, they're asking about the franchise tax. Come to find out, Eudora has no franchise tax, and there's others around that not have one. So I'm getting questions about that, and I don't have an answer for all these. The only thing I've got to do is harass you guys by asking.
That's fine.
And I'm sorry that it comes out that way, but that's the way it seems.
That's fine. So the franchise fee was put in, I believe, in 2015, 14, 15. I can't remember when the city put that in. That goes to our general fund for the most part. That actually for all of it, I believe the franchise fee goes to the general fund. From what I was told was that goes to maintain all the right of ways that we own. So cutting, trimming trees, all that fun stuff. That's what the franchise fee is intended for. But that does go to our general fund, Jerry. Put in 2014. I also know in 2014 they refinanced the debt on the power plant that they built in the early 2000s. And in 2015, they used part of the electric fund to finance the utility building down on Orange Street as well. So we're still paying on that, and that's what you're seeing in the debt portion of that from back then. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, I just had a question. So I know we're trying to build up our reserves and everything. I was just wondering about the 2 subdivisions going in the end of town. Are we going to need a bigger reserve for that? Are we going to need to increase the rates because of we're bringing all the subdivisions in and more people in? Are we going to need to get more generators to power that because they couldn't handle even us right now? Just a couple questions I was wondering.
Yeah, so the developers pay for all their infrastructure. For any subdivision that comes into Baldwin City, the developers pay for that. So there's no cost to the city. Everything, anything that attaches to that subdivision, they pay for. We planned when we put in our generators are intended to keep our load plus, I want to say 15% for our city. So our peak, yeah, peak power. If Baker was going, school district was going, everybody was going. That it was planned for that, and we have plenty. We checked on that here, I think a month ago, and our reserve, I call it reserve power. We're set up good because we're required to keep sort of some reserve. But no, those subdivisions were all calculated with everything. It's not going to cause any additional expenses.
So, as we forecast the power requirements going forward, KMEA, there's some outside experts that talk about what they see the power growth. You got to factor in LEDs; it'll bring it back down. So it's kind of complicated where they tell you your growth is on power. So we pay attention to that. You got to kind of plan 4 years out ahead. If you're going to add generators, it takes 2 years to get a generator in and online. So we've forecasted those subdivisions. We've got new generators that landed last year or early this year and should support our requirements through all those subdivisions. What it does is as those homes get sold and they start requiring power, we don't see having to add staff to do that. It'll be doing more with less. But now you got more meters to divide the cost of our debt. And what we're trying to get to is that our meter fee, and that's why you saw your meter fee go from 12 to 25. We're trying to get it so the meter fee covers the debt amount and the rest of the rate, because right now, if you look at your bill, it's all one rate. You have your $12 was in there and your $25. It's hard to tell. It's not very transparent what you're paying for. So what we've been working on, if you look at your water bill, it does break it out. And that's what we're looking to try to get to for every utility. So my point is that as our debt fluctuates, and we got debt dropping off in 27, some coming on, but as it goes up and down, that meter fee, it'll be annual, that meter fee will be adjusted to just pay for the debt. So you'll know what that is. If we go bond money, you'll know we can calculate on what that meter fee is going to go to for what period of time. So you'll have that visibility. So when we divide that debt by more meters, your share is going down. The more rooftops we add, the more meters we add. Okay, we got enough energy to supply it all. We want to split the debt cost among more people, and that's what we hope to do.
Yes. All the correct. All the 3 new subdivisions you're talking about, Heritage, those are all 3 on Baldwin Power. We had a question up here. Do we have a? Oh,
Is
sorry.
there another planned rate increase?
Not currently. I mean, not. No. So I'm not sure where that came. Well, I do know where that came from. So the council got, I think, 2 or 3 options to choose from, and in one of the options called for an increase now and an increase in October, but they didn't choose that option. So there is no planned increase in October. Next, we don't know until we see the forecast and see what our numbers do for the rest of this year. I can't speak to that because it continues. Sorry.
I had a question following up on that too.
Okay. Let's.
When were the planned rate increases announced to the public for this year current?
So we discussed them in January. We had another work session, I think, in June, May or June on the rate increases, and then they were voted on in July. Now, hey,
So my question would be to you, because you're talking about transparency. We recently had an air conditioner installed in our home. A contractor told us in December that the city was looking at rate increases for January in the summer. And that seems to be before January and the summer when you're saying those things were talked about and voted on. I'm just concerned about the transparency going on there. How would a contractor know that before this?
So I know transparency is, it's different for everybody. So one of our, it's difficult to hear that because this council really wants to be as transparent as possible. So the fact that we talk about it in open meetings, we talk about it in work sessions, I think it's valid criticism that we don't force we don't force it out to people. And I think the bill note is a great idea. When we start talking about these things 6 months in advance, we can certainly find a way to meet you where you get your information and say, hey, we're talking about this. We don't know what it's going to be. We think it's going to be in this range. I think that's out of this, for me, I think that's the most valid input that we have. We can force that transparency to happen. We did none of this behind closed doors. All of it was in open session. So all of it was in open session, all of it. Open meetings, open session. So the fact that we know that not everybody gets to those, we shouldn't just sit back and say, well, we were transparent. I agree. I think we need to do some marketing outreach and try to share what's going on in a different fashion. So valid input.
yeah. So yeah, we'll pass the mic around. We'll get everybody. I promise you, I'll answer everything, or we will answer everything. But on to the transparency thing. So we want to be transparent. I want everybody to know exactly what's going on at all times. That's why when I became mayor, we started live streaming everything because it's hard to get to the council meetings on Tuesday nights. That's why when we built this system, we built in the microphone, so it's built in, the cameras, so it's built in, so that way people at home can see what their government's doing. But with that, I had a meeting earlier today, and I think what we're going to try to do is set up an advisory group to come up with a policy on how we notify people, when we notify them, because the last thing we want to do is have to notify somebody. The information gets changed. We have to notify them again, and then now we're confusing people. So I'm going to ask, and you'll see stuff on Facebook this next week where we're going to ask for citizens to volunteer for an advisory board to help formulate our policies. When we send out stuff, what media we send it out to, how far in advance we send it out, all that fun stuff. So that way we're getting the information out to you guys in whatever availability we can. Ma'am. So, yeah. So nobody can hear online. So that's why we're trying to pass around the mic. But, so you stated the best way is to put it on your bill. Great point. Yep. Great point. So our billing system, from my understanding, and Amber can correct me if I'm wrong, is limited on the number of lines that we can put on there. So as we have been trying to break out these bills with the meter fee, with the bond fees, with everything to try to show citizens where their money is going, it has taken up almost every single line on our bill. We don't have any more lines. So what we're actually doing right now is right. So right now, hang on, guys. I promise we will hear all your comments and questions. So what we're doing right now is I've asked city staff to look at other software programs that are more like the Evergys, the newer stuff. We're waiting. We talked about this a year ago. We're waiting. Our system said that they were going to go cloud-based, which would allow us to do more stuff. Because honestly, what I would like to see is our water bill on one sheet, our electric on one sheet, our trash on one sheet, and then a total sheet. So that way it's more transparent and you're seeing exactly, instead of it all jumbled up all like it is right now. So we are working on that software. We're trying to see what other communities are doing to try to address that problem. So
Okay. Hi, I moved here 9 years ago, a single mom, 2 kids from Kansas City, where I grew up. And part of what brought me here is that I could not afford to find a place for me and my 2 young kids to live. I have been renting the same home for 9 years. And thankfully, I've been able to stay in the same home because my rates have increased gradually with the cost of um, taxes. The landlord has to raise it up incrementally just to keep up with the house taxes or whatever. I'm in a very lucky position that I can afford where I'm at now. If my landlord decides to sell my house, for the average of what my square footage is for my 3-bedroom house with the full basement and the garage, I'm probably going to be paying a few hundred more dollars a month. So I'm very aware that the cost of everything is going up. And I feel like I'm just like making more than double the income since I moved to this town. I've built an amazing clientele in this town. I've had phenomenal community support for my children as a single mother. And I would say, for the most part, it has been to my benefit that I moved here with my kids. I am very aware that if something changes, I don't know where I can afford to live because the cost of living across the board is higher. So feel like I have a lot of compassion for everybody is feeling the strain. Everybody knows that the cost of groceries is going up, the cost of everything is going up. So I guess like I just want to kind of like add to the conversation that I understand the frustration. I also think that it's good for us to troubleshoot ways to like get the information out. But you have one citizen here who's not mad about I don't think anybody that's trying to have these conversations is benefiting from this. When we think about the cost of gas going up, the cost of insurance going up, the cost of groceries going up, it's not the guy at the grocery store who owns the grocery store who's like making more money because I'm paying way more for bread than I was when I moved here 9 years ago. I am no closer to my goal of owning a home than I was 9 years ago. And who are the people that are benefiting on the very top? And in this situation, I don't see anybody that's benefiting. I don't know how far we have to go up. Maybe the guys who are running the, utility companies, are they getting way more, bonuses and more money? Are they having a much higher increase of quality of life and they're footing the bill to all of us? So I just maybe would encourage people to think about who's benefiting from these increases and who's actually footing the bill. And maybe instead of having so much animosity towards our community, that we're all in this together, that the people who are trying to come up with these solutions are all trying to work together to come up with a solution. Is there maybe a better way to do it? Sure. Is there a more efficient way to do it? Sure. I appreciate you guys coming in here on your time off so we can discuss that. So hopefully everybody leaves here feeling a little bit better because it's hard for all of us. It's hard for me. It's hard for everybody else on a fixed income.
okay, Jay, we have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think what I am hearing also is when people are wanting what they're calling transparency in the bill itself, I don't think I could be wrong, but what I'm hearing is not necessarily a line item, but a separate sheet of paper that's like, hey, some updates and announcements. And I know that the city has done that before, and I always find those beneficial. And I'm sure that's something that the task force that you're putting together can brainstorm and think about ways for disseminating that in a better way to everyone. But I think there's just a little bit of miscommunication about what the ask was, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I think it was maybe just like a flyer, not another line item on a bill. So,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah. So, I'll just repeat what he said. So he said some older people aren't online. They rely on the printed information that we put in the thing, and I think we can work with Lynn to try to get that addressed relatively soon. I think Brandy had a question. Okay. Okay. Where's
I
the-
just I want to say that it was really upsetting to not as a younger person who doesn't really understand all this, sorry guys, I don't know to watch the meetings. I didn't know my bill was gonna go up $200. A lot of people didn't like I didn't have any idea what I was supposed to watch to know this stuff. Like just I can budget for the change. Like I'm not mad my bill is higher. Everything's going higher. I'm mad that wasn't prepared. I was blindsided. And I don't have the budget for it.
Yeah, and again, I apologize, and that's why we're going to create that task force to create a policy around when our media person puts out everything. So we will get that addressed.
Last question for the night. I want to use your words.
Okay.
Part of your literature and everything says that you want to create an atmosphere in Baldwin City that's affordable for the people to live here. Do you believe in that?
Yes, I do.
Do all of you believe in that? Okay. And then you sat up there and you said you want us to believe in transparency. Do you believe in transparency?
Yes.
Do you? All right. And so you want to say that you're on our side. You want to help take care of the people of Baldwin City. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
All of you? All right. I say prove it. Tomorrow morning, kill the hike. Kill it. Kill it. You want to take care of us? Kill it.
I think Brandy had her hand up, Jay. And then I know.
Hi again. I just want to say kudos to the individual up front who kind of put the very large picture in perspective that everything is going up. And that goes way beyond Baldwin City Council. It goes way beyond our state. It goes way beyond, it goes so far up that it's a mess. We can't do anything about that. I love that you guys are looking at how to make the bills more transparent so that people can more easily understand what fee is for what. Perhaps in that process, you could maybe provide a link on those documents to the website specifically explaining what fee, what each fee is for. I feel like this is something that comes up over and over and over again, especially the franchise fees. And perhaps, somebody looks at their bill and they're like, oh, what's this for? They can go somewhere and directly see what it's for. My other question, backtracking several minutes ago, Casey, you had mentioned the electrical reserves, how we're in a good place with those, and 15%. I would like to understand that better, how that works, and I guess where that money, somebody is paying for it in some way, how the money side of that works.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to understand in an hour or so session, but I'll try to explain it. The policy states that you saw that $6 million budget. A portion of that, about half of that, was operation. So our policy states that we need to have in reserve 15% of that, say $3 million minimum, maximum of 25%. So we need to have more than $6 million at the end of the year. We need to have $6 million or 6.6 million. That would give us $600,000 reserve. So the only way you get that reserve, if you don't have it, is you have to put it in the rate. It has to come from the rates that people pay. So to build it back up, you actually have to add to the rate a small amount that's more than your expenses are, so that you end up with more revenue than you did expenses. That is your reserve. So that's not break even anymore. That's building up a reserve. And then when you get back to the reserve policy, you try to hit break even and keep that reserve right there. So you're standing up, you must have a follow-up.
Okay. So you're talking about our so our power reserve. Okay.
Part of that and not, sorry, and not necessarily like
Not the
where
money part.
reserve money
Okay.
is coming.
So yeah, so when our entire system is running, if everybody has their lights on, our total peak power of how much power, how many kilowatts, megawatts it takes to operate our city, we have to have that amount in our generation plus 15%. So when we added those generators, that's what we were trying to get is we were looking at our total generation and then plus 15% and buying. And what we did there is we found two 1.5 megawatt generators that were used out on the East Coast. So that way we didn't have to purchase new and had them brought and installed in Baldwin. But that's what I was referring to is the total generation of our community is around, I think, 13 megawatts. So we need to be at 15 megawatts or 12, 12 megawatts, whatever our total peak requirements are, plus 15%. Does that answer your question? Okay. So I'll get to you.
I have two questions. We built a new home in 79. Water meter's been replaced one time in 46 years. And probably a new water meter today is what, $500, $750? Can you explain to me why we're going to pay $25 a month water meter? I've got one other question before you answer that one. I mean, get real. Where's all this money going? And the second thing, if Eudora's electric is so much cheaper than ours and they don't own no substations or anything, maybe it's time Baldwin got out of the electric business.
So I'll answer the first question. I'll let Casey answer the second one. So we briefly touched upon it. You're going to see meter fee disappearing from your bill as soon as we can make it happen. So the fee's not going away. Sorry, the name of that is going away. As we talked about. Listen, wait. You were complaining that we were charging for your meter and it didn't cost us much. What that fee is for the debt. So it's going to be called a debt fee instead of a meter fee. It's a debt fee. Okay. No, again, that fee is not paying for the water meter. It's paying for the debt that utility is carrying. We're going to call it a debt fee to avoid any future confusion. It won't change your bill. It'll just be more transparent about what you're paying for.
So I'm going to answer your second question. So actually this week I asked the city staff to start looking and researching so let me start over. Early 2000s, Baldwin City did approach, I think it was KCP&L at that time. We had KCP&L and Westar. They approached KCP&L to buy our system. At that point, they wouldn't buy our system because of of how bad it was. So that's when they installed the current. This is correct because I actually called the mayor that was in office at that time. So that's when they installed the new generators, the new power plant at that time. I did ask city staff and say, hey, if this is something we need to revisit, let's revisit it to see if Evergy wants to take over our system. If we don't want it, that's going to come with some downfalls, and that's going to be something the community will have to decide on. Is because Evergy is a for-profit company. Will they continue with our generators? Will we have backup power? We don't know that. If with a company, they're probably going to go get on the most populated areas first to get those customers on before they come to the rural areas. I would just have to assume based on their shareholders. But that is something that I've asked city staff that maybe we need to take another look at and just get the facts out there, get the information, and then see if it makes sense for our community. I mean, that's because we own the system right now. We have to continue maintaining our system. Evergy. Okay. So what was the question? So your question is, why is it more beneficial to pay the city for the power than Evergy? The city of Baldwin owns the rights to the city. So until we give up those rights and Evergy agrees to take over those rights, we have no other choice as a community. Baldwin Power is our only supplier of power in our city. Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the benefits of having your own power.
Didn't you guys have an expert come in? I was here for the meeting in December when you guys had an expert come in to talk about planning what the power system.
Yeah, we had KMEA coming.
I'd like to know what you paid them, and the increase is far above whatever Evergy has ever asked for the state of Kansas. And why are we're so derelict in your duties to not see this coming and have advice that you think paid good money for, and not know that you needed to do this long ago, be informative to the city and the people that you were going to do this.
Okay.
Instead of just blindsiding everybody with a 50% increase. I mean,
So,
50% increase at the grocery store, would anybody go to our grocery store?
so it wasn't a 50% increase, it was a 10%. But did you look at so if you look at your usage of all your utilities month over month, it was only a 10% increase to the cost of the electric portion of that. The bills might have increased more. I'm not sure. I mean, I know mine did, but that our bills are every utility on there. So if you had more water usage from one month to the other, it's going to be higher. If you had more electric usage, which July was a hot month this year, it's going to be higher. And all that might have added up for your house to be double. I'm not sure. I know mine was a couple $100 as well, more. But my electric portion of it cost me $10 a day. Over that time, I did the math on what my electric portion cost me per day.
Okay, so LG states that their increase for this coming year of 2025 will be an average rate increase of $13 per pound. So, what do you expect your rate increase per household to be? I would also like to know what you were advised by.
I'll bring it right back to you. Thanks, Luke.
So our financial advisor, so the
Hey, Casey, I'm just going to interrupt 2 seconds. The people online can't hear you unless we use this mic. And I know there was a lovely gentleman who was saying that they couldn't hear sound on a lot of the council meetings, and this is why. So if you'll just hold, I will run it. I'm happy to. But this way everyone can hear.
sorry, repeat your question.
Well, I'd kind of like to know what you paid for the financial advice, for the advice for what to do with the
So
power.
KMEA gives us a
And-
lot of our advice when it comes to our electrical system. They're free because we belong to their system. We're part of the Kansas Municipal Energy Association. So they give us all the advice when it comes to purchasing our power, where to purchase it at, all that fun stuff comes from KMEA. We have a financial advisor who takes care of all of our finances across the city. I don't have those numbers with me right now on what they charge on a monthly basis to work up the numbers and to do all that. That's just not something I have with me right now. Their advice, though. So I think the other part of what was their advice. So I think one option in the council packet, and I can't recall, Scott and the other council members can thing, but one part of the advice from them was a 25% across the board increase. So here's why that option didn't go through, is because if we took a look at our utilities and how our utilities are set up, if we did 25% across the board and our base rate is the $12, then if you have a solar panel system on your house, you can generate all the electricity you want down to $12 an hour, or the $12 base per month. So that's not fair to the rest of the community, because if the average cost per house to pay for its 70% of the debt is $25 a house, then people that can afford solar are not paying even their share of the debt service. So that's why we said, hey, it's more fair for everybody if the base rate is at the $25. So that way the solar customers also have to contribute to the debt equally, just like everybody else, because when their solar is not generating, they are relying on our grid.
And I'll just add to that, as a council member, I mean, the guidance we were given from, our financial advisor for 2025 this year was that based on the budget and based on the forecast, it looked like we needed to raise rates 25% across the board January 1.
No city.
So that was the advice they gave us. So we kind of felt the same way, and we said, let's do 10% January 1, and let's see if what you're saying happens. And so we knew that by only doing 10% January 1, that we maybe need to do something July 1. I mean, we were very well aware of that, and obviously not transparent enough that had been talked about. And so we come till now, and prices haven't declined enough, and so we did have to do this second rate increase rather than doing it all in January.
Yeah, that's good.
So, I mean, that's how those two decisions were made: January rate increase in July. Here, put that on.
We keep having transparency tonight, and seriously, if this is going to be available to everyone, they need to be able to hear you. And the only way anybody online can hear is if you're talking in the mic.
Okay. I'll just be honest, my faith and trust in all of you guys is diminished, completely diminished. And I think I'm right in saying that. I'm also going to ask how I can access the records since you took office. I want to see that information. I don't feel I should have to pay for it, or anyone here should have to pay for it. I want to know specifically what the reserves are when you first took office, and I want to know what was spent out of those reserves to get us into this hole. I want to see how it was spent, because I don't really trust anything you guys are saying. And I'm sorry, but that's true.
Okay. So as far as I was aware, all our budgets were online. If they're not, we'll get them online. Make sure they're all on there, because as far as I knew, everything was online. I don't manage the website. I don't manage all the paperwork at City Hall. So
Okay, well, this goes directly to transparency.
Yep.
Sorry, my voice is shanky because I'm very angry at this whole situation. I feel you have completely failed at your job. Thank you.
Okay, so I just have a couple quick questions. How much of the solar field and the energy that it generates goes to our electricity grid? Um, I'll let you go. Sorry.
all of it.
All of it?
Yep.
Okay, and that attributes to what percentage?
It has the potential to do a little less than 10% of
Okay.
the total. But again, it's solar. So
Mhm.
as the clouds go through the sky, it lowers. I'll be honest, I think we have an app that you can track, or a website or something that you used to be able to track and see how much energy it was producing at any given time.
Mhm.
I've never really seen it, but again, I don't watch it all the time, go above like 3/4 of its total potential. But again, we only pay for what it actually produces,
Okay.
not what the potential is of it.
I just want to clarify something about the rate increases. Did we have a 10% rate increase in January?
Yes,
Okay, and then we had a 10% rate increase this month,
correct.
correct? And then the meter fee, $25.
Right.
And then did our water increase also in January?
Our water increases every year based on what Lawrence charges,
Gotcha.
because it's tied to them.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that. And then I had one more question, but now I can't remember.
Oh, you
what
can
it
come back
was.
up and ask.
So, all right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Our journeyman lineman, is their wages public information?
Yeah, I think all city staff wages are public information.
You probably don't have that number off the top of
I
your head,
don't.
do you? Okay.
It's less than market.
There's no doubt about that since they're non-union. Not the point. The point is I work for a class 1 railroad and I know all about doing more with less. As a father of a lineman, I would please ask everybody not to sacrifice their safety so, you know, everybody could have a cheaper utility rate. It's just not worth it. What's the other one? Oh, and this is probably not something that the city wants to get into for legality purposes. I don't know if it can even be done, but maybe one of the local banks could do this. If we could set up a fund for people that are, you know, struggling to pay their utility bill, I'd be more than happy to donate, you know, every month because I've been very fortunate with my job that, you know, I'll survive this and be just fine. But, you know, these folks, hopefully they can survive. But, you know, if that's something you guys could look into, I know I would appreciate it.
So we do have a fund. It's called the emergency fund. When people have a problem paying their bill, I believe city staff works with those people to fill out the application. It's a separate board outside of the city where people can get assistance to help pay for their utility bills.
It's a separate board outside of the city.
Correct.
Um,
Amara?
I've heard y'all say it. It's a separate board outside of the city. We do communicate with them. Baldwin State Bank has their account, and you can at any time go put money in that account. Their board does have rules that you can only have so many times per year, and then and it is so much because they try to help as many people as they can.
Well, I know the word transparency has been thrown around a lot tonight. I mean, is that something the city puts out as far as, you know, if people are struggling, somewhere that they can go to get help to pay their bill?
Is that put out?
I don't look on it on my utility bill.
Oh, no, it's not on the utility bill. I think that they do have flyers. We do have flyers at City Hall as well.
Okay.
And we can. No, they do not ask for any kind of income information. I am going to say, unfortunately, that sometimes it's the people who need it the most that refuse to ask. Because, and that's the hardest part is we want those people that truly need it. Please contact us.
So I think that's a great point. I think we need to do a better job about making people aware of what's available and whether we can set up a program outside of that. You know, obviously already started to thinking about what that would look like, but let's just keep in mind that it's a zero-sum game, so that if we figure out a way to help, you know, people with less resources, the people that have resources are gonna have to foot that bill, right? Because it's a zero budget gain. So if we give somebody a lower rate, somebody has to pay a higher rate. But I'm open for anything that would, again, satisfy the affordability for the whole range of spectrum of economic, you know, affordability for people, household incomes, et cetera. So it's a good idea.
I'm just trying to understand a little bit more, but the electric revenue is due to how much money we are paying our bill, right? So when people stop paying their bills because they can't afford it, everybody else is going to have a higher bill. So how is that going to work for everybody else? Because we move out, we can't afford to live here, or we conjoin into one household instead of two. That's one person gone, and you said each roof counts to split that bill up. So it's just going to make it more expensive for everybody else in the long run. So the debt rises as the people don't pay their bills. So nothing, it's just a circle. The debt's going to keep rising because no one can afford to pay it. Besides people who are very successful, and not everybody in this town, not even close to everybody in this town is successful at what they do. So
I mean, I think you bring up a great point. If we lose residents, we lose, you know, households. We got to generate the revenue. If our costs don't go down, our expenses, we have to generate the revenue. So that's a great, you know, that's a great point. However, the debt, I just want to make sure we keep referring to the debt correctly. The debt is what we're paying on loans or bonds, right? So all it is, you know, we've got 4 bonds that we built: substation, we built the power plant. So the debt and your meter fee, that's going to be changed to debt fee, will no longer be called a meter fee. that pays for that. I mean, if for fewer households, they will have to pay more of that to your point.
Yeah, that's
So you're absolutely
everybody's
right.
still going to be paying more.
Yeah.
The more
So
people can't do it, other people are going to be paying it.
it's in our vested interest to make sure as many people that want to live here can live here, just because of that, and for other reasons. It's a great place to live. We all know.
I agree, but I agree. But there's people who've been living here since they were born,
Right.
and they're being forced to leave because they can no longer afford to live here because the jobs here don't pay anything. You could work at the school and be a teacher, you make $12 an hour. You go to Dollar General, you make $11 an hour. The gas stations, $11 to $13 an hour. No one can afford
Yeah.
to live here anymore because most people who live here work here.
Yeah, I mean that's another problem. That's
Yeah.
very difficult to address. What struck me on those costs for the for the utility, if you look at the percentage increases, the lowest one on there was wages, and so we're all suffering that their wages are not keeping up with the inflation. And somebody mentioned earlier that's across the board.
Yeah.
And we can try to control a little tiny sliver of that, but the rest of it we can't. So if we can attract businesses, that spread the costs out, provide better jobs, higher pay. I mean, we're open to trying to figure that out as well. That's a tough one to crack. Being situated where we are, this close to Lawrence, this close to Gardner, businesses look there first
Mhm.
before they come here. So we spend a lot of time thinking about how do we do that? How do we attract those businesses?
Yeah.
Any ideas again?
The businesses
bring 'em
also
forward.
here aren't going to attract as much revenue themselves because people are not going to become who comes from Lawrence to Baldwin to go to the grocery store. Nobody. There's only a very few amount of people who live in this town, and most of us also half the time, unless it's convenient, don't go to the grocery store here. We go to Lawrence. We go to Aldi's because that's what we can afford. So this town is also losing revenue as everything goes up. That's just kind of what my thought.
What options? What options are there on the 5th when the pay agreement, when some of these people can't pay these bills and they've got babies and they've got families, everything in your refrigerator's ruined? Because I know in Baldwin, they will shut you off in winter, summer, doesn't matter. Kansas Gas Service won't, but I know Baldwin will. And it's no disrespect towards you guys. There's some of these families this is going to happen to. So what options do they have?
I know that they have a pay agreement schedule that they do with people that can't afford it. They'll set up a pay system.
Has to be half up front and half on the next bill?
I'm
Yes, by the next bill, 25th.
so
Like theirs
again,
was almost $500. So even if we come up with 250, and I'm not saying they can't pay it. I know right now they can't.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay mine and I'm going to try to help them pay theirs.
and that's definitely something we can take a look at and try to set out a pay agreement plan that is more beneficial to our residents.
Because it'll
They can't
say
afford it.
put another $500 on next month, and that's.
And then it's
I mean,
gonna be
do you take that and try to pay that bill, or do you take that and try to move your family?
Yeah.
You either have to feed your kids or try to keep the power on at this point. So if it's going to keep going up, then you just have to take your family and move.
Yeah.
I think it's worth looking at if we can figure out a way to, with these rate increases that we've seen this year, spread out the payments over, again, to your point, as we spread it out, it means we're not going to get it this year. But if we have enough reserve to not go negative, I'm just speaking personally as a council person. I would like to go look at maybe a payment plan that we could do if it makes sense, and we could figure it out. But
Oh,
but
'cause
but
when it gets cold,
yeah,
it's one thing in the summer with the heat, but when it gets cold, pipes are going to freeze,
Yeah,
things are going to
no.
break.
if we can do it, I think it would be helpful. I just don't know if we can, but it's worth looking into.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, while we're on the subject of paying bills, what happens if you don't pay your bill? What happens if you missed a payment?
I would have to refer to city staff.
Okay, I'll tell you. Bill was due on the 25th. I thought I paid my bill, made an electronic mistake, and it didn't go through. A couple bills didn't go through. We're out of town. We get back at 4 o'clock on the 6th, and there's a tag on my door that says my electricity is going to be shut off at 9 o'clock the next day. That's the only notice I got. Up until that point, I thought my bill was paid. Now, if I hadn't settled up, there's a $70 fine on my bill for being late. And if they had shut it off, there's going to be another $70 bill to turn it back on. Is that working with the people?
Yeah,
I mean, that's ridiculous. I got 2 refrigerators and 3 freezers. I like stocking up. I got a lot of meat. We got cats and dogs that live in the house. If we'd have been gone for a few days and I come home, my electricity was shut off and I lost something, it'd be bad. So why are you even doing that? I mean, the other bill was the gas company, right? They charged me $2 and they didn't talk anything about shutting anything off. $70 penalty bill. That's ridiculous.
I don't disagree with you. I mean,
Well, let's change that policy.
yeah, absolutely. I think we should look at that policy.
All right. Should be about 30 days, national average.
Yeah, I think
Let them know. Make sure they know. Don't give me a day's notice 10 days after I missed the bill.
yeah, nope, I think you're right. I think that's a good point, and I think we need to revisit that policy.
All right.
I know that it is a short turnaround from the time you get your bills till when they're due on the 25th. And then you get penalized after that. And then you have until the 5th to get it paid before door hangers are the following day and then shut offs the next day. I am beyond thankful for the girls that work at City Hall, because I guarantee you that if you hadn't got that door hanger and had not come in, they would have called you that morning. We do that for all of anybody who is on shut off. I guarantee you we do not want to shut off a single person. That is not our goal. That is not what we want to do. And I guarantee you we would have called you that morning.
That doesn't say that on the tag. All it said on the tag, we're going to shake the electricity off tomorrow morning.
And even if we're out of
Correct.
town,
We
and didn't get your calls, we're still screwed.
Well, we would have called you as we do. We do want to connect with somebody. Yes. We call whatever numbers we have in the system. So if you, no, we don't assume that. We do want to check on them. And we have reached out to the police department to check on people if we cannot get a hold of anybody and you're up for disconnect. We have had that done. We do I promise you, we do the best we can on that because we don't want to shut anybody off.
I don't doubt that you guys are good people, but I think that that's a systemic problem rather than a workplace culture problem. I would like to ask, in the face of transparency again, not to beat the horse to death, but was the decision of using reserves instead of increasing the rate a public decision? How was
No.
that went forward with?
No, it's not a public decision. It's a council decision, but it's made.
Not as in the public makes it, but was the public made aware of the decisions we make in? Was their input taken into that?
I mean, we discussed it in open council meeting, that type of stuff. But no, you're correct. And that's why I said that we're going to look at getting a policy developed around that.
Okay. And then also looking at the data, at least that I've seen, most of the surrounding towns, not just Eudora, all have lower rates than what we have. Is there some sort of systemic issue with Baldwin City, power grid? Why is that such an issue for us compared to every other city, well, most other cities around us?
Yeah, I think I saw something that with these rates we're about 5% above the Kansas average, somewhere around there. You know, that there's, in my opinion, and I'm speculating, right? Is, you know, Gardner has their own power generation plant. Ottawa has their own power generation plant. Two larger cities than Baldwin. So population comes into play on some level when you're providing the same service as other larger communities than your own. So that's where I think that causes our larger rates to come from. Do you have any?
No, I was going to say, we go out and get a rate study done, I think every 3 years. Yeah, so we're always interested to know where do we land and comparing kilowatt hour, you know, just straight kilowatt hour, because there's other fees, as you know, some cities charge. You look at an average you bill and there's all kinds of lines on there. So I think KMEA does it, or a consultant goes out and does a compare and tries to get it apples to apples. I think the last one we did might have been about 3 years ago. And we were right in the middle of the pack of all cities within a certain range. And then, so we're middle of the pack. So we do monitor that. And if we start getting, or if it looks like we're getting too costly relative to our peers, we go ask the question, what's going on? Go talk to our peers in these cities, say, what are you doing that we're not doing? So those things do happen, and we do ask that, and we do monitor that because we are concerned about it.
And then following up on that in relation to the quality aspects, we're talking about expense in relation to the quality of the power grid that we're getting here. This year being an anomaly, I've never seen any city lose power like Baldwin City does. And so I'm wondering, with the amount that we're paying, what's going on there?
So again, our energy is transmitted by Evergy. If one of their lines goes down, then we have to react to that. And there's a reaction time to that, to get our staff, to get the generators fired up safely. We have our linemen have to drive the lines to make sure that nothing is unsafe before they fire up that generation so nobody gets hurt. We've had some problems. I mean, I'll admit, I know 2-3 years ago, we lost power. Our switch at so we have two feeds coming into town. We have our Ottawa feed and we have our Gardner, what we call our Gardner feed. We usually normally run off of Gardner solely. Then my understanding is, not being an electrician or anything like that, is if that feed goes down, our power automatically switches over to the Ottawa feed. We've had problems with our switch at our substation switching over, which has caused some of the issues of getting our power back on. We don't control the electricity coming in. We control how fast our power can come back on. So that's what we're hoping the other substation will do is divert that power to that substation, because this substation is, I think they told us 20-30 years old. We've never been able to take it offline to completely rehab it. So having that redundancy of this.
I'm not talking about getting it back online. I'm just talking about it going out. And it's just for our city.
Again,
for the cities surrounding. So it wouldn't just be an Evergy
well,
thing
that's
into our city.
it is. I mean, that's the fact. It's Evergy, because we don't generate our power all the time besides the solar.
I mean, there are anomalies where a line will go down. We've all heard the squirrel jokes. I mean, those aren't jokes. It really happens. But in an effort to be transparent, in our strategic plan, affordable and quality utilities is part of that strategic plan. So we're very cognizant of measuring the quality of our electric service. And we actually publish all the outages, what the causes were. You can go online and see what they were for when we had it was 2024. And you can see what the causes were. And then obviously we try to remediate those things that we can make changes to so they don't happen again, we do. So we're very transparent about all the outages we have in this community and what caused them. And then sharing the plans on what we're doing to fix it. So when we get into these budget conversations with the electric department, they go, well, if you want us to make sure, animals don't short out lines, we got to bury the lines. And the cost to do that is you can't touch it. So what can we do short of that? Well, we can start trimming trees in the areas that we see a lot of it. So those are the conversations we have. The highest quality service we could do would be bury all the power lines, keep our generators running full time. So when Evergy went out, you would never see a blink. We can't afford to do that. So it's how far down do you go for the quality that people want and the price they're going to pay. So that's
I'm just struggling with everybody. Everybody wants the quality. I understand that, but I've been in places you have ice storms and the power doesn't go out, and the wind slightly blows here and the power goes out. It seems like a rather large scale issue going on. The other thing I was thinking is the generator. You're saying it's supposed to run peak plus 15% approximately, right? And then it's not even able to kick on this summer with the issue, right? Just a few weeks ago.
Correct.
Do we need to look into that? Are we going to get rid of the generators? It seems like that would be an expense that we could save if we have somebody running that, maintaining that, housing that, all the expense that goes into that, if it's not even going to run and perform what we need the power to do there from the generator.
Yeah, and I mean, if we go down the road and when we talk to Evergy and go through all those discussions, I think that will all be on the table is, do we continue to maintain this backup generation? But again, that comes with a quality thing that we're going to be at the mercy of Evergy if we give up that backup generation.
I understand that, but also if we go to turn it on and it won't kick on, then it's
Yeah.
kind of pointless.
So we were told by our head of our electric department that when we add this first problem is when we generate our own power, it's all got to go through the one substation we have. That means everybody comes on at the same time. That means your peak when everybody's air conditioners, everybody turns on.
Startup load. Yeah.
Startup loads will go above that 115%. When we get the second substation in, we can bring half the city on and 10 seconds later bring the other half on. So we can start managing those problems with the generation that we have. And we got the second substation going in starting next year. It'll be operational next year. So we hope to address a lot of those problems.
Yeah. Is the person who voted no here today?
Yeah, in the back.
Who would that be?
Jay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'd just like to refer to what we were just talking about with the generation of power. And when the power goes off for some reason, and they do turn the generators back on. I've been here for 30 years, and it's just what everybody needs to do in the town is everybody needs to like turn off their AC. You have to lower the amount of load in order for the switch in order to be able to kick back on. So if everybody were to know that you have to turn off things when your power goes off so that when it comes back on, it's not creating such a load that they can't get it to come back on.
Correct.
Plus, it's safer on your appliances just to avoid that peak. And
Right.
but that's again, it's an outreach thing. We need to probably do a better job at communicating that to the citizens of, hey, this would help if this would help if you on a power outage you turn off your major appliances.
Right.
And then once it's back on, turn them back on.
Back on again.
But education issue that we need to look at.
Well, I guess everybody should know that, especially for our little town. And as far as like with the increases that we've had, I don't know why that 10% increase had to happen in July. I think, we talked about spreading costs out for paying the bill. I don't understand why. I was at the meeting in December and I didn't hear anything about a 10% increase that night when it was discussed. I didn't hear that was the final solution to your guys' plan. I think that it should have been better known. And these increases should have been incrementally done, like in off-peak time or like in February, March, or November, December. So it's not such a hit on everybody that's using AC and electrical service.
In hindsight being 2020, I think you're correct. We should have done it probably earlier in the year. Yeah.
And I think
I can't
so.
argue.
And also, why can't we have a full audit of just all of the finances that are being done by the city and what is the best way to spend our money? If we were losing our fund and we shouldn't have been losing our fund and we shouldn't have been increasing things, maybe somebody out there could have been more informative to us to let us know that we're doing the wrong thing.
Thank you.
So can we have an outside audit for the?
We have an audit. We have an audit that's posted on our website every year.
But
So it's,
by an outside firm.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess everything gets more expensive for everybody. Nobody likes it, but it's just part of reality. My biggest concern is actually our senior citizens on a fixed income. And they don't have the ability to generate more income. It's fixed. So payment plans not helping a senior citizen on a fixed income. Why don't you make it a priority to, for example, look into what state or federal is available, grants, other programs that you could tap into to help our senior citizens, because they really have to make a choice, either pay the electricity bill or eat. I mean, it's a reality. And I think that we need to take care of our senior citizens. That should be the main priority. And also make it, like the gentleman said, if people, businesses or individuals want to donate money, well, set up an account or whatever, a program that people can just donate money to and use that, just to help senior citizens on a fixed income, because these people are really suffering. And I think that should be one of the main priorities that you should look into.
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we've discussed before making a website, and I don't know if it's on, if we have a tab with resources through Douglas County and the state and everything. I know we've discussed that. It's not yet. I know we're working on getting those resources all in one location for people. I think that's also, a very, very good point. We talk about our seniors a lot. We don't want to hurt our seniors. We do want to take care of our seniors. But I think that if people are willing to donate, setting up a fund for senior citizens and then maybe another fund for low income citizens is a great idea. And I think we need to do
And I
it.
think if you can make a program that makes it tax deductible, it would be interesting for a lot of businesses or individuals that want to donate if they can deduct it.
Yeah, and I think you have a good point, and we do have some avenues, and we need to check with DCCF. I think is the name of it, Douglas County Community Foundation. But where we could set up an account with DCCF, who is a tax exempt organization, but they'll manage that money for us, and then we just pull from it when we need it. So I think that's a great idea, and we'll definitely take a
I
look.
think it would be good for Baldwin City if we could do it.
Absolutely, great idea. Thank you.
So since Ottawa and Gardner, like if you purchase stuff in volume, would you get more of a discount on some of the stuff? Like you do, like create a co-op or something and order the three of you together?
So we try to do that through, I think KMEA, they do that. The municipalities try to purchase it. During COVID, we had a really hard time on getting not substations, transformers. And we couldn't even find them. So we found some, we bought them back then, and we held them in a stockpile. But I'll check and ask our electric department if they do that with all our
Maybe
materials.
make your main line come from Ottawa instead of Gardner if that's where it keeps cutting off. Just
So,
reverse it.
yeah, and I asked that question a few years ago, and they said that our Gardner line is the stronger line versus our Ottawa feed. So that's why they feed from the Gardner, and then just use the Ottawa as a secondary.
So it's not, I'm sorry. So it's not mainly like a question, but again, a statement like where I came from, Drumright, very small town, roughly about the same size as Baldwin, right? There's not really much comparison except for Baldwin has 2 gas stations, Drumright had 3. So, but one noticeable thing that I noticed about this community versus the community that we came from, or I should say escaped from, all right, is that the infrastructure, the buildings were deteriorated. You go down Main Street and like those old Hollywood sets where they just had the front of a building, but behind it there's nothing. We actually had buildings like that. No joke, it was falling apart. And there was a nickname for that town, and it wasn't a nice one. It was called Methrite, because there'd be like labs blowing up all over the place. We escaped that to this town because it's beautiful, right? And as rates go up, people leave. There's nothing to maintain it. And that's, as a citizen, that's my concern. And that's what everybody I think here is concerned about, all right? And I don't mean to take jabs or place blame, but it all starts at the normal family income. What can we do? What are we doing to provide options? What ideas are we taking? Are we shooting down ideas because they seem impossible, or are we shooting them down because we just don't see their point? And I think we need to have like a forum that's that generates engineers ideas that we can do to get these rates down ASAP. Because I don't want to see Baldwin turn into that, as being going from Kansas to Oklahoma and back to Kansas. Gotta say here, Kansas is a little infinitely better. All right, my wife would agree. Every time we go to like a family meeting over there in Oklahoma, hey, do you want to go back? She's like, mm-mm. I don't either. Neither do these two, right? And I brought them here so they can see these things be properly done, so we can all get a voice in there. And I hope we can get that done. Thank you for your time, and y'all have a great night.
Thank you. You also.
Kids, up. Let's go.
Good man. Okay, I've just got a couple quick questions. Do you have takeaways from tonight, from this meeting tonight?
Yes.
Can we have a list of that, or can you tell us what those takeaways are now so we can know what to expect, when to expect the answers? I don't want to feel like we wasted our time coming up here because you're not going to change anything or do anything. And that's kind of how I feel at this point still. I think a lot. I want to know what the takeaways are and when we're going to hear back on those takeaways.
Okay, I'll just take the note, tell you about the notes I captured. I'm certain I didn't capture them all, but somebody asked about the contractual services budget line breakdown. And what we'll probably do is publish the question and the answer back on the website or Facebook page or whatever makes sense, or again, put it in the bill. 2018 budget info not available on the web. We're going to go make sure that's available. Timelines on this, I can't commit to because I don't control them all.
I'll be here Saturday. Maybe you'll have a better idea then.
I still won't control these all, so I won't have timelines for you. So let me finish. Thank you. We're gonna, some of these I just took based on comments. It wasn't a question, but we're gonna revisit the electric, all the utility shut-off policy and make sure it's what we want it to be and how the process works. So we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look at a potential payment plan that we don't currently have. Senior Citizen Help Plan is something else we're gonna look into. And then the last thing I captured was, is there any way we can co-op for electrical supplies like transformers with Gardner and Ottawa? Did I miss anything that you wanted to follow up on?
Not necessarily, but I can.
So if you think of something, you have our phone numbers and our email, send it to us. And if you've sent me one, I've answered you. So keep doing it and we'll keep answering you. Okay, thank you.
You need to get back to the city on. You need to respond back to these items, let people know these are our takeaways and this
That's
is what
the
we're
plan.
going to do on.
As I said, that's our plan.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
thank you for your time. I just have a question in regards to solar. So I have a friend of mine who has solar right now in Baldwin, lives in Baldwin, and so I'm with everything that's going on, I've considered, is that a way to go? I've been told by them that have solar that the solar that's left over at the end of the month from what they've gathered goes to the city. Can you just explain that to me a little bit more so I understand what that looks like?
So we just found out last week that the state actually changed that law, and we need to develop a policy now based around the new state law that essentially credits back the excess solar that somebody generates in their house. So we're working back to the person to put it on their bill or whatever. So we were just advised of that last week that law, Kansas law changed. So we're going to be addressing that. Right now, you're correct. If you're a solar customer and you overgenerate, it goes back to the grid in the city. There's no credit back to anybody or anything like that. No, there's no payback until after the state law was enacted. So now we have to go and develop that. Now the businesses don't get that. They're what's it called, Russ? Parallel generation. They're not net meter generation. So the business is just parallel, equal, where the citizens get a net metering.
Before we decided that a rate increase was the correct route to go, did we look into what it would cost to upgrade our system and sell to Evergy instead of upping everyone's rates?
No, we did not, because that would be a multi-month, multi-year probably type of.
Is that something we're going to look forward
Yes.
to in the future so we don't get another rate increase?
We're gonna start speaking with Evergy and seeing what their interest level is and having those discussions to see what it looks like there. And then that'll be something that will involve many community forums to bring back and get feedback based off that information.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Can you come up to the mic? I'm sorry. That way the people watching online can hear you as well.
The last lady mentioned solar credits.
Yes.
Baldwin does do credit back for solar. My house is full solar.
Okay. So we credit back.
Yeah, it's credit for credit through Baldwin right now.
Correct. Yeah. We give you credit up to the base fee of $14. So you can take but if you over generate past what your usage was for that month, we don't credit forward for bills. And I think that's what she was referring to. That's what the state law addressed, that now we're going to be required to develop a policy that credits forward on future bills based on how much solar you.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood that.
But I also think, and this is all brand new, but I also think the state is going to limit the size you can put. So in other words, the policy is we have to credit you for excess that you don't use, but there's a limit based on your house or lot of what the state's going to allow you to build. So you don't build a giant solar farm and start selling it, selling that back to the city. So that's all coming out now. We're going to figure it out and develop a policy around it. But it isn't just as much as you want to put out.
Perfect.
It's also not the full credit up to like what, so for, $15 a kilowatt hour. It's not that, because that includes all of our operation. Yeah. It goes down to the raw.
Yeah.
It's what we purchase it for, the wholesale rate. Yeah.
Right. So if more houses go solar, would that affect?
So that would help our generation in what we're required, that 15% I was talking above and beyond. The solar helps back that down because the solar customers are generating some. So our peak demand is not, it's not a peak like everybody didn't have solar. So that helps for our demand capacity charges. But no, I mean, we still have the system costs the same. The only thing it does is saves us from having to buy generators at a faster rate as we grow.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have questions? All right, well, I appreciate everybody coming. I'm going to stick around for a little while, so that way if people didn't feel comfortable coming to the mic, if you have follow-up questions, feel free to come up and ask any questions. And it's up to the council members. I'm sure they'll be around as well. But again, thank you all for coming tonight.